Hi, I'm just going to do this video on the results of the Fani Willis um, case in Georgia, where she has brought a RICO case against Donald Trump for trying to get 11,780 votes so he could claim he was the winner of the presidential election. And this case, of course, revolved around her unethical and unprofessional conduct as the elected DA of Fulton County. She has a good reputation. She's been working for many years under the previous DA, Howard, and she won and got like over 70% of the vote. She was the landslide winner. So she comes in, of course, her pledge was she was going to bring integrity to the office. She wasn't going to sleep with people in the office and so forth. And then, of course, she does all of the wrong things. So this is about her sleeping with the special prosecutor she hired, Mr. Wade, and the order came down, the judicial order from Judge McAfee, saying that there was a choice. Either Fani Willis and her whole team could go, or Wade had to go. The special prosecutor, Wade, had to go. He'd be out of a job. We wouldn't take any money for the job, and that should probably happen as soon as possible so they can quit talking about Fanny's panties and they can go on to with this prosecution of the people who were charged in this large RICO case, which the whole United States and, in fact, the world is focused on. And really, really sad that this happened because it certainly hurts all women who are trying to be professionals in a legal career, and this will probably make people less likely to want to hire women because you never hear about a man and his sexual exploits. But women, this is something that can stifle cases. So anyway, Judge McAfee said there was no evidence of actual conflict of interest and found on the facts of the case it was a 2-day hearing on this, which is not really a trial. A hearing is like when you're get in trouble at your job and they decide whether or not to fire you. That you're not on trial, you have a hearing. They did have it like a trial, and so some of the behavior you saw from Fani Willis was because she didn't treat it like a trial. She was treating it like a hearing, but of course to the general public, her acting kind of wild on the witness stand made it look more like she was acting out at a trial and was very unbecoming, very unprofessional, and was a negative impact, I think, on her and her future. But right now, she has a great history of taking RICO cases and getting successful verdicts, and she was overwhelmingly elected by people who knew of her for many years. So, okay, so the judicial order says either Wayne has to go or the entire office has to go. And so, more than likely, Wade will go, and we'll have to hear when that happens and if there are any repercussions. Of course, Donald Trump and his team are not happy with this. They want to appeal, I'm sure, and they can appeal. They have to, in Georgia, you have to ask the judge, that would be Judge McAfee, whether you can appeal immediately, or if Judge McAfee says no, you can't appeal this order immediately, then the Trump attorneys would have to wait until after the trial to appeal this hearing about Fani Willis being the head of the case. But the judge found there was no impropriety, and No extra money was given to Wade. No extra benefits were given to Wade because of any relationship that might have occurred between the two parties. And in fact, he thought that I think he was charging $250 an hour, and the judge said that was actually quite low for an attorney to get, and so there was no evidence that he was getting high attorney fees or anything else. Let me see here what else he said. As I said, they did 2 days of hearing, which showed the judge was just diligent. He didn't rush to a judgment. He didn't just go out and say immediately everything was fine and that she could stay. He actually held a hearing. It was public. Everyone could make their own decisions, and that he feels that this was a fair hearing on all fronts. The judge also said that the cash, Willis has this habit of keeping a lot of money in her home. You can't do that as a public official, and she needs to read the rule of ethics. Now, this is not the court saying this. This is me. She needs to read the rule of ethics, and she should probably take a course in ethics for public figures and elected officials, because you can't do that. You can't be throwing thousands of dollars here and there from your sock drawer. But anyway, back to the judge's comments. He said that he estimated that Willis and Wade probably only transferred between $12,000 to $15,000 between them on these vacations, and she was saying that she was paying her half of the vacations. But you have to do this stuff with provable payments, credit card, something you can get a record of, and you have to be able to bring in the bills, if somebody's going to question you, and all public figures, get evaluated by the public. So paying with cash is not good, it's not wise, it's not smart, it's not something you should do as a public official, and especially when you're dealing in the criminal aspect, because what are criminals looking for? They're looking for money, and so it leads the public to feel, of course, something illegal is going on. And you don't want to debate this stuff. You don't want to have this sticking out as a sore thumb. So she has to, in my opinion, she has to stop dealing in cash. She needs to stop saying what her daddy taught her. Her daddy was not a public official. Her daddy was not an elected official in the criminal department of a county. And so she needs to use some common sense, go out, learn what a public official has to know, and stop paying in cash. Nobody wants to hear what your daddy says, in my opinion. So no one debated whether or not what she was saying. The judge felt that the money transfers were not contested by anybody, so he didn't think that was a factor in the hearing and in making the final judgment. Now, of course, the judge is up for re-election, so when he makes this decision, he knows that he is speaking not only to the people in the court, the attorneys and the defendants and so forth, and he is also speaking to the general public, the people that are going to elect him in the future, the people that are going to be judging them as public officials. And so he was very open in making his judicial order, and he tried to make it as plain as possible. And it reads so that anybody who is interested can read his judicial order and understand what he's trying to say and trust in the process. And I think that's important, because if you're going to live in that county, you want to trust that people are on the up and up, and that they don't look like they're doing sneaky things and things are being overlooked just because they have a title or they have money or they have pull or they're doing something else for special favors, which put you as a resident of the county in special danger. So he wanted to overcome any thoughts that there were improprieties in the outcome, and so he made his judicial order very easy for people to read. Now, Willis is also an elected official, and she is required, as she has to depend on votes. She has to give speeches in the area and so forth. And they said, basically, in the order that, she should avoid any evidence of bringing racism into her speeches, and she should avoid calling the defendant attorneys liars or anything like that, and she should try to look a little bit more midline so that it looks like everything she's doing is fair and on the up and up. So, but it's a little hard because, of course, it was very noticeable that Trump went to a highly black county to look for 11,780 votes. In other words, he wanted to take the votes from these black people and transfer those votes to him, even though they did not vote for him, yet they made the effort to go out and vote, and voting is their right, it's their way of speaking. So there is a huge racial overlay to the Trump case, but just because of her position, she needs to not speak about it in definite terms. She needs to look more general, speaking about, just basically seeking justice and so forth. But in general, I think they really want her to just not speak about the case. They want her to just get to business, do the work, and not do any more unethical or inappropriate acts, and just get to work and do the case. Do your job, Fani. Do your job. So they found also that the person who was going to speak against Willis, his name was Terrence Bradley. They found that he was did not appear trustworthy. It appeared he was lying. It appeared he was dancing around issues on the stand. So that was interesting for me. And frankly, I was interested in his testimony, and it kind of looked like he maybe was trying to date that other attorney, the blonde lady, and maybe that's why he was telling her all of this stuff, because it was kind of weird as to why he was getting involved in this whole relationships stuff and talking to her about Fani Willis's romantic life. It was just very, very weird. But anyway, the court found he wasn't really reliable. Now, the other thing that really came out in this is that the judge found there was an odor of mendacity, and I thought that was very funny, and that means he felt that this smelled of untruthfulness, it smelled of lying, that all of this stuff was very hard to tell who was telling the truth and who was lying. There wasn't enough about anything that he could definitely pinpoint that was a lie, or anything he could say, well, this is true and this is a lie, differentiating between the two. So it's just he had the odor of mendacity, the odor of untruthfulness for the case, and that the facts and questions about sexual activity between DA Fani Willis and Special Prosecutor Wade was cloaked with reasonable doubt. So who's lying and so forth, it was in doubt. When it started, it was in doubt. But it was clear that Willis is very guilty of unorthodox behaviors, unorthodox ways of paying, paying in cash, no real records. We're supposed to just believe what she says. Well, you can't do that, and that is something she needs to read about and something she needs to change her ways. And if she doesn't, she's going to be maybe not given so much grace in any future cases. But the summary is Fani can keep her job. Wade is going to have to leave. The case can go on. The defendants can appeal, but McAfee will probably have them hold their appeal until after the case is done, and so there shouldn't be any holdup with the appeal. And hopefully Fani can get her focus out of her panties and get focused back onto this trial. It's very important. It has many important issues. It has focus for the county because 11,780 people are being deprived of their vote, and that's much more important as to whether Fani can get it on with some other guy in the office. I think she has hurt her office. I think she's hurt her future. And I think she's hurt women in general who want to run for these serious offices, because Trump has shown that this is a weakness of women in office. We don't question men who have sex with their secretaries or other attorneys. And you notice on the defense side, the old attorney and the very young lady co-attorney, no one's questioning whether or not there were any sexual advances towards them. But Willis, this is something that attorneys are going to look for in the future. It's delaying the case. It's muddling the case. It's taking the focus off the issues of the case and bringing them onto personal problems with the district attorney. Wastes a lot of county money, a lot of time, frustrates people, and it kind of lowers the morale of the office. The office people are working really hard on this case, and now they have to worry about the DA's sex life. Very bad, very bad. I don't like it, Fani, but let's see if she can refocus. See if she can bring her mind back. Get rid of all that cash in your house. There are many, many ways. This is not your daddy's age of banking. There are many ways to get money and store money other than putting it in your underwear drawer. And so get up with the times. We don't want to hear anything more about what your daddy told you. And we'll see how it goes. So I'm so glad this is over. It really was a win for Trump and a loss for female attorneys, female professionals in general. And that part makes me very sad. But what do you think? Like and subscribe. Bye.